I started Poor Baker for the obvious reason that I love baking, but I started it because baking shouldn't feel complicated or messy. I wanted consumers to have homemade taste, clean ingredients, and a simpler way to bake. So I created baking mixes that are better but also smarter with the purpose of creating beautiful, delicious stories along the way.
And so when I created Poor Baker, it wasn't always Poor Baker, it was Renwood Farm.
Hi there, I'm Cameron. Welcome to Renwood Farm, where we like to say all you have is all you need.
And everything kind of being positioned under the farm, which is where I kind of got a lot of my beginnings and the concepts of all you have is all you need, which you'll find on every single label, for any product that I make. That message, some people call it a slogan, but for me, it's become a way of life, a way of thinking, a way for anybody who consumes our products to begin to think about what it is that they're doing, not just when they're baking, but in life.
All you have is all you need. So if all you have is one of our gourmet baking mixes and, well, a little bit of water, the possibilities are truly endless.
Because when you have that concept of all you have is all you need, then it encourages a consumer to think about all the possibilities ahead with baking and inspiration for life. So I kind of wanted like the labeling to reflect kind of like a little bit of whimsical. So that's why I kind of put that framework on the edges, because it kind of looks like a chapter to a childhood book almost. Like you kind of see that feel, and I want people to feel like when they open up a box of our mix, whether it's our cookies or our shake and pour mixes, that you're beginning a new story, you're creating new memories, and so that's really exciting. And so kind of placing the ribbon and the colors has been kind of interesting. I've gone from some of the lighter ribbon to some of the darker pink, which kind of pops a little bit more to me, to these little bows that a lot of times I place on our shake and pour mixes. And I've contemplated maybe putting them here, but they lay a little too flat to go on our boxes of cookies. So, and the fun part about the cookies, when I was exploring the labeling and what I wanted that to look like, is the brand itself didn't start with cookies. It started with our shake and pour mixes. So the brownies, the cornbreads, the pancakes, and that's been the hero product of Poor Baker, and that is what built the all you have is all you need concept. So if all you have is milk or water, you have enough to make brownies. I like to say if you can pour, you can bake, hence the name Poor Baker. So while I always kind of, as of lately, last year I ran into a bit of packaging issues for our shake and pour jugs. So the pancakes, the cakes, the muffins, the cupcakes, everything like that, I ran into a little bit of issue with labeling, with packaging, with where to source it from. I wound up having to sort of shift gears, and I feel like our hero product last year and the thing that people kind of have begun to know us through are actually our cookie mixes. And right now we currently have 5 flavors: the brown sugar, the original, and I try to make every foundation kind of from that brown sugar cookie base. And then you have the chocolate chip, the double chocolate, macadamia nut, oatmeal raisin. And so they're all just, every bite is amazing. And so our more dough-based mixes aren't just add milk. We do the half stick of melted butter and 1 egg to create the kind of dough-like appearance. And the same thing we do with our biscuits, where you add the butter and a little bit of milk. But our shake and pour mixes have, to me, always been our hero product. And I'm looking for that to just kind of gain its wings and fly. So I'm excited to see consumers just have our products in their hands, because what I always say is whether you're eating our biscuit mixes, our cookie mixes, or something as easy as our just add milkshake and pour mixes, you're not just baking better, you're baking smarter, because you're saving the time where you won't have to dirty up dishes, you won't have to figure out the measurements. You just take this, fill it to that fill line, shake it up, pour it, and bake it.
Developing a baking mix is more than blending ingredients, it's precision, patience, and purpose. Every ratio matters. Too much flour changes the texture, too little fat might affect the moisture. A fraction of a gram can mean the difference between dry and decadent. At Poor Baker, each recipe is built through careful testing of measurements, balance, and bake chemistry. We consider how ingredients interact once milk is added, how they hydrate, emulsify, rise, and set in a real home oven. The goal is consistency you can trust every time you bake. Clean ingredients add another layer of complexity. Without shortcuts or fillers, the science has to be right. Structure, flavor, and texture must come from thoughtfully chosen ingredients and exact proportions, not additives. Every Poor Baker mix is tested, adjusted, and tested again until it delivers homemade taste, reliable results, and ease for the customer because great baking doesn't happen by accident, it's designed. So, a lot of times I'll mention our Just Add Milk mixes as sort of the hero product in every pantry. And the idea behind Just Add Milk isn't about doing less when baking, it's about doing exactly what matters. Milk is something that most homes already have, it's familiar, accessible, and functional. From a recipe standpoint, it provides moisture and structure all at once. By designing mixes that only require milk, we removed unnecessary steps, extra ingredients, and waste without sacrificing taste or quality. Every Poor Baker mix is built so that one simple addition activates the entire recipe. No oil bottles to measure, no eggs to crack, no extra bowls to wash, just what you need and nothing that you don't. That's resourcefulness by design, using fewer ingredients, fewer tools, and less time while delivering a homemade result. Because all you have is all you need.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun making the cookie mixes and developing those recipes last year because before that, a lot of the focus had been on the shake and pour mix line. And I feel like the cookies are what people are starting to just know and recognize us more for because a lot of times when I'm doing like the pop up events, I usually will do the cookie samplings, and cookies oftentimes feel like a treat. So it was a lot of fun adding that to our product line last year, and now just getting back to what I call the hero product, our shake and pour mixes, is what I'm really looking forward to in expanding and reaching our consumer. We have our brownie mixes, our pound cakes, muffins, and cornbread mixes all being released over the coming weeks. So I'm just putting a few last touches. I'm always recipe testing. I'm always trying to figure out how to make it better for the consumer. And more importantly, when it reaches a consumer, is it reaching the consumer at a reasonable price? Because I had to take a break last year from producing a lot of the shake and pour mixes because the truth of the matter is, I wasn't able to source the ingredients to make it a clean product. And while I want the consumer to understand that it's better for you baking, I also want them to understand that it's smarter, it's everything, so that it hits every price point when they decide what they want in their pantry, when they decide the baking that they want to raise their kids on, their families on, build memories around. I want them to be able to think that Poor Baker hits every area that would make them feel comfortable and joyful to have our products. Kind of like questioning and re-questioning. I mean, you have to get to a point where you just kind of go with things. You know, when you're building a brand, when you're trying to reach the consumer, when you're trying to solve a problem, is what I like to think of our brand is doing. Is that we're solving the problem for the consumer of baking you can feel good about with great ingredients and product that tells a story and also creates stories. And the convenience of our shake and pour mixes that reduce the mess, the cleanup, the thinking. You're just able to shake and pour and bake, and that's it. You don't even have to think about it. But the thing that when I explore our labeling, and even when I question like the bows and what I want those things to kind of look like, I don't want a poor baker to feel like a seasonal product. I want it to feel like this is the product line that you need in your pantry at all times. Because I think that when things get a little too animated or too much of a feel that, like I said, feels seasonal, the consumer starts to question if it's something they should have every day or if it's something they should be keeping in their pantry at all times. And I want them to be able to look at it and for it to still tell that story, a little bit of my story, as you can see, the horses and the farm and the meal, but also for them to feel comfortable that each day they go in their pantry and get our mixes, that they're also able to create their own stories. Mixes have a more whimsical feel with the banner and the corners like that. And of course, like I told you, all you have is all you need on every label. I wanted the mixes, the shake and pour mixes where you're just adding milk or water, shake and pour bacon mixes to have a little bit of a more, still a very whimsical look, but a little bit more industrial. And the labeling is going to be a little bit more 3D, whereas this is a little bit more thin, kind of attached to the box. I want this to kind of jump out at people as they're walking down that baking aisle in grocery stores or shopping online.